Today really is about the foundation of the system. So what I want to make sure, even though we're talking about the inquiry, I hope you're talking about the sales process sort of as a whole. We're talking about the relationship building, the needs, the listening. It doesn't matter if it's a walk-in, if it's a second visit, a fifth visit. What I'm going to do is take everything you've learned today and spin this now into the rest of the system. You've really learned the core, the base, and that's what we're really working on, getting you to slow down, step back, ask lots of questions. So, did you experience that difference with your inquiry role plays? What was your experience? Does anybody want to share what they kind of took away or any ahas on the inquiry role plays? Yes.
Oh, my aha was, instead of selling the community, I was getting feelings, hearing feelings, experience. That's it.
And how that makes you feel? To hear their feel?
As the LCC, like I was connecting more with them as opposed to, I was educating them. I would have an opportunity to educate them because I was connecting more as opposed to trying to get the sale.
Right. Love that. That's really powerful. And I agree. And sometimes we just get into the grind and we're just trying to get people in the door and close the sale. And I think we were talking about that. Somebody brought that up in the last minute I was just speaking to, and I said, I have a great analogy. Sometimes I feel like on the first call that what I always say is you just want to date on the first call. It's just a first date. And sometimes you feel like people are trying to date and get married on the first call. And there's so much to get to know about someone before you marry them. And it's almost like that's what we do on these inquiry calls. How can we possibly learn everything about them, plus go into all the pricing and the entry fees and the size apartments and and expect them to even want to come in? Because the reality is, why would I come in if you told me everything I need to know? And I always relate that to a movie. I'm a big movie buff, but if I went to a preview, don't you sum up what you're going to see at the movie theater when you show previews? You're like, yeah. But if they tell you the beginning, middle, and end of the movie, do you really need to go see the movie? No, because you already know what's going to happen. And, it just kind of gives it away. So my whole thing is we've got to hold stuff back if we really expect them to come tour and visit us. Otherwise, there is no need. If you give me all my prices, I know what apartments you have, I know what your entry fees are, even though I don't even understand what they are, but I know what because the customer doesn't half the time understand. Why would they need to come? And I think in their mind, they're figuring, why am I coming in now? So you can sell me? So what else did you take away from your role plays? Or any ahas? Yeah.
The sheets, they're pretty handy, because you're still in that discovery phase, and they're taking you in different directions, even though you've got your agenda in front of you, so you can refer back to that, and you still discover a lot more than you expected to off the sheets.
Good. And even if they're taken, you can always come back and reassume control by dropping into the next question, because you can pretty much drop into any question and it makes sense. What else? Anybody else?
I think just covering of the next question was really helpful.
Oh, covering the next question? So you actually did that?
Yeah, it helped us to focus.
Okay, cool. Was it helpful to play with it a little bit here in this environment? I think we'll do it again tomorrow, but with some challenges and barriers and lots of objections. Today we're going easy on you because you're learning it. So a few things. So now you got to play with it, and you got to coach. You got to be the prospect and the life care consultant. And did it help you to observe people as the coach, and to coach it? Okay, very good. And as the prospect, you got to see what it felt like to be on the receiving end. I know we were speaking, so this is why we have a partnership of 12 weeks. We have times to work things out. So some things are missing. We don't know why from the connection sheets. We're going to go back and fix that. So typically we had the last question, what's your timeline? It's not on there. We don't have the age on there. It was on there before. I thought that Megan wanted them off. She's like, I didn't ask to have them off. So I'm like, well, where are they? So we can very easily continue to just craft those. It's not a problem. We need to add what size apartment. The key there is going to be where to put that, because we know when you ask what size apartment, they're going to probably be tempted to ask about pricing again. So I'm going to really work through and think about in the flow of that conversation, where's the right place to ask that without, getting drawn then after you build this value into the whole pricing discussion. Should have been on everything. It should be at the very top. Do you mind if I ask you a few quick questions? Did you find it? Okay, woo. Okay, yes. I don't know. I got to think about all that. She's saying maybe we ask about the size of their current residence, but it feels like we're going down that qualifying road again. If somebody said, how big is your home? I would be a little bit like offended. I don't know. Like when someone says, how big is your house? I don't really like to tell people the size of my house. Yeah, we'll get it in there. That won't be that hard. It's just going to take some thinking and flow. That's it. And we have time to tweak it. That's the cool thing. Here's the good news. Until it's on there, you don't not use this. You just start using it and you add it in. Trust me, even without those, you will still book your tours at a higher volume than you are now. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's so close. And remember, even if we took all these questions out and replaced them with other questions, it's really just about the open-ended question. It doesn't matter which one in particular we're asking. So were you going to say something in the back?
I went around the room kind of eavesdropping on everybody, and what I noticed that I didn't hear at all was really a lot about apartment qualifying, and it just made me excited.
Oh, good. So you weren't hearing a lot about apartment qualifying when you were eavesdropping.
Instead of one bedroom, two bedroom, whatever, it was all about the person, and I loved it.
Oh, don't put it in. Okay. So we'll have a wrap-up discussion, and we'll talk through all this. And how did it feel doing the close? Recapping, the next step is, I heard you guys trying your optional close. How did that feel? It's kind of like button it up. You're buttoning up your close, agreeing on the next step. Was there any questions there? Any questions from your role plays? Do you have one?
Could you recap walk throughout, and that could kind of use as the branches
Can I recap what?
as you go through the questionnaire?
You could, but here's the thing. The reason we don't recap as we go so much is at the end, there's something that happens that's incredibly powerful when you go through that whole sheet and then they don't even know what they've said and then they hear it all at once. It's almost like filling up the value bottle right before you ask for the tour, and we're using that momentum and that power to get them to say yes. So if I'm kind of recapping as I go, it's not going to be as enticing or as heavy hitting, so to speak. Okay, so tomorrow is going to be a lot around objections and pushback. You see, I'm easing us into this, right? I'm showing you the structure, the foundation. I'll role play. You can go at me all you want. We can make it a game. Let's beat Tracy up. I believe in this system so much. You'll see the system works. Now, if someone's just absolutely animate, they're not going to come in. No way. You're going to be part of my, 40% that doesn't book. And on to the next person. So let's, this is what we're working on. We're back to working smart, not hard. We want to be really customer service focused, create an amazing experience. Compare this inquiry process, whether it's a walk-in, a tour, even your follow-up tours, they're going to be around the same process of asking lots of great open-ended questions. We're not just talking about the inquiry process here, and that's what I'm trying to get you to see. We're talking about how do we communicate with people, whether it's the prospect, the adult child. And, usually what people are doing is they're winging it. We're asking a couple questions, and actually there's two studies that people on average only ask 2 questions of an inquiry call in our space, and they spend on average 2 minutes on a call. And then we're shocked when they don't tour. What happened? I don't know. Let's see. You gave them 2 minutes and 2 questions. People will usually say, why did you call? As soon as they hear anything that's a viable bite, my mom, recently lost my dad, or we're thinking about downsizing. It's like people go straight to the close because they're thinking, this is a viable lead, but it's not enough for them to come in. So we just have to be patient. On average, the industry average of inquiry tour between AL, IL is 34%. You guys are sitting at 40, which is pretty phenomenal. And there's a lot of frustration because the conversions aren't near what they should be. So with our system, the goal is you're asking 10 plus questions. You're spending, 8 to 10 minutes. You're really identifying the wants, the needs, the fears, the timeline, the decision makers. You're booking, ideally, we say 60 to 75%. I understand this is life care. You're at 40 as a company the last 2 years. I'm telling you, there's no reason you can't even get to that 60 as a focused organization. Let's first get to 50, right? And as a company, you could be at 50 a quarter from now, right? But the thing that needs to happen is you as an individual, each person in this room has to work on their own skill set and contribute to that bigger pie. If our close conversions didn't change at all, and we got, 20% more foot traffic in the building, your closes are going to go up, the velocity. So, and the biggest win I love about this, and you pretty much said it back here, it's like remembering why you love your job, connecting again, really engaging with people in a meaningful manner. So we will again be working this close a lot, and I want you to feel so confident with this close by the time we leave tomorrow. So that's why we're going to hit some harder stuff tomorrow. So the habits we want to break. We don't want to qualify quickly to save time. This has been going on, since I got into senior housing, this has been a problem. You read my book, if you read it, you saw I have a whole, chapter dedicated to the CCRC environment because it was such a pet peeve of mine. And on the shops, it's just this constant thing we find in this environment. It's just, bam, like qualify, qualify, qualify. And, it just, people feel it. I went to buy a boat with my husband once, and the guy would not talk to me. And I was a decision maker. I am the one that was making the decision on the boat. Now, Dave and I are joint marriage. We do everything together, but he was going to do what I said. We made it very clear. You pick the next one. We were avid boaters. We've had our boat for 10 years. Had to get rid of it and get a new one, but we always buy them used. And the guy was just like, he wouldn't even talk to me. And I told Dave, this guy clearly does not know who's driving this decision, and I will not work with him. And he went to the guy and said, dude, you messed up. And he was like, what? He's like, my wife is buying this boat, not me. And he was like, but I'm like, it's not the 1950s, dude, right? Hello. But again, we requested a different salesperson. We got Gary, who's amazing, and he knows. He asked, and we will get all our future boats from him. He takes the time. He spends a ton of time with us, whatever's needed. And sometimes we waste his time, but when we buy that next boat, trust me, it'll be worth his while, right? Some people just take time. So you have to be so careful. I think it's the most deceiving thing when we try to judge who can afford and who's going to buy. It's the biggest mistake, I think, in a product that we mess up on in sales. Millionaires, the number one, if you ever read The Millionaire Next Door, it's probably changed, but the number one car a millionaire drives is a Ford pickup truck. The number one place they shop for their clothes is Sears. They use American Express more than any other card. But so if you see the guy coming up in his Sears clothes driving the Ford pickup truck, you might not think that's the guy that can afford your $500,000 entry fee, gorgeous unit villa thing you're selling. But how do we know? And the person coming in with the Gucci bag and the big old diamond, we don't even know if it's real. We don't know if it's a knockoff. So who are we to judge? I just want to say it goes back to your mission of really being a mission-driven Christian organization. We really should give everybody the equal respect and opportunity not to prejudge. And then also the habit I think that's going to be tough to break, and we're going to work with you on, and your coaches know this. They've worked with a lot of life care, CCRC type environments, so they're used to this too, is diving into pricing and entry fees, which creates a lot of confusion. I believe this actually lengthens your sales cycle when you're trying to get into that too quick because people don't understand. And then it kind of shuts them down and you end up at an impasse. That really should be done in person. And then I know, I was just told about your awesome video hab that explains pricing. I love that. I think it's great if you can utilize that. Rushing the call is very dangerous. To try to get to a quick close and winging it can be disastrous. So these are the habits I think that are going to, we're going to need to work on. Where people tend to fall short in maximizing conversions, and really it's just failure to get permission to ask questions. So even if you're with someone on a tour and you're getting ready to go into the tour itself, it's always good before you begin that tour to say, hey, do you mind if I just ask you a few more quick questions before we get started? Because it's all about discovery, drilling down. Going beyond the first 3 to 4 questions, basically meaning in any situation, the close, the follow-up calls, anything, getting deep into conversation. 3, 4 questions is surface. 7, 8, 9, 10 is depth, and that's where the answers are. So how can you serve people if you don't really, know them? And we have to actively listen. I don't know why this is all funky on the screen. I'm sorry, it wasn't like that in our PowerPoint when we made it. I want to go back to this. So in our coaching, we need to get you the internet, just this click and paste. So, we always teach our students in coaching to use this format. And this is actually a little long for me, but I know people like wordy. I've done a ton of email kind of studies. It's really stupid, but I've been in a lot of really great press. And I always say the reason I got into the press is because I know how to write the emails, because I've studied, I've learned from the masters out of New York City who work with all the press. They're with everybody. And I've learned the formula is a 1 to 2 sentence intro, 3 bullets, 1 to 2 sentence exit, nothing more. And, and if you compare that to the guy who's writing a whole book that nobody's reading, the second they see a really, really long email, they're just going to delete it. This is really too long for even my comfort zone. But really what we're saying is, hey, thanks for inquiring. You can even say, thank you for inquiring about Indian River Estates. Do you mind if I ask you a few quick questions? I'd rather see that. You have 2 to 3 questions max, and thanks for taking the time. And then I just added here, for your comfort level, you can delete some of this. I always delete fillers once I actually start. Like if this was me, I would just delete any filler words to make it shorter. I'd love to find the time to talk with you in person. Is there a day time that might be good for us to touch base by phone? Would you prefer a personal visit of our community? So we've got that optional close. If you cut and paste this, what our students always tell us is, oh my gosh, I love that, because they always write back. They're hiding behind their computer. They answer the questions. They share a lot. And then it's like you have a dialogue and you're more likely to get the phone number. So this is just great. Even if you have an autoresponder that's sending stuff out, you can still tweak this and just cut and paste it, drop it into your inquiry. We do find that internet inquiries are just, man, they are not. Do you guys personally respond, or is that automated? You personally respond. Okay, so really there's a lot of studies. If you can do it within 2 hours, it's a big deal. It's a big difference in closing. So I know that's hard. But definitely same day. We're studying this right now on like 200 properties, and it's pretty bad what we're seeing. I mean, some are never responded to, and some it takes a week. Like we're talking some like 20, 30%. So we are absolutely shocked how few people take internet leads seriously. And you all know that's an educated prospect. So we need to respond quickly and with purpose. So we're going to encourage you to try this format. And we're going to get this in your hands during our coaching, and it's just click, paste, nice and easy. So now I want to go back to what other challenges do you face when trying to get them in for a tour? And again, this could be a retour, right? Aren't you touring people 2, 3, 4, 5 times? I mean, I think the average for independent living is like 16 different, touches between tours and conversations. So again, although I'm addressing this doesn't matter which tour we're talking about. It could be the first, it could be the 5th. But what your feedback was is physically getting back in touch with people. It is absolutely complicated. It's a real barrier. So again, that's why we need a phone, a cell, and email. All of those things are critical for active conversations, being very clear about, hey, do you text? Do you prefer a phone call? Or an email. And really listening, notating that where it's visible so you make sure you're following up with people properly. Knowing what to do to help them see the value of booking now versus later. That could be the first tour or the 5th tour. I gotta be honest, on a 5th tour, why am I coming back in there? You know what I mean? So what do you do on that 5th contact or 5th tour? So, and then some of you are honest, motivating myself to work the lead as I wonder how viable it really is. I knew that was going to be an issue, so I added that as an option, and it was selected as number 3. So that makes sense. So we're going to keep addressing that. We already did that. So I'm going to kind of move forward here on this, because I think you guys I don't know what all these weird things are. I'm sorry. Maybe it's on a different laptop, so we saved it on a thumb drive. Our systems might be different. So are there any questions or comments? Yes.
So, especially in Pennsylvania, we have 6 communities that are very close, and a lot of the same people will call different communities to come and visit them. Do you see it as being a problem that they call one and we ask those questions, and then they call another one, they ask the
Yeah.
exact same question?
Well, the thing is, the cool thing about this system is, and maybe you heard it when you role played, like everybody kind of does it in their own language. Does that make sense? We have never heard somebody, I mean, we've worked with companies with 200 properties. We've never heard anybody say, well, that was exactly the same, right? Because people love to talk about themselves. They don't realize you're using a system. You know, now if they call 5 and it's the same exact questions, they might say, I heard that and say, oh, because you're calling, we're all part of the same family and it's really important we get to know you. That's all you have to say.
I didn't know if there'd be like another sheet that if they call and they say, oh, I went to Normandy Farms and I liked it, but I'd like to see Springhouse. Is there a difference?
Well, would all those notes be in? So maybe you could say, you know what, I can pull it up, but I mean, it's kind of weird. It's never been the big enough problem I've ever heard to worry about. I think that could create a mental barrier where it might happen once every 50 times. You know what I mean? So I would just deal with it when it happens. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. Again, if I call Disney year after year to book a hotel, they're going to ask me all the same questions. They're going to sound the same. It's fine with me. It's consistency. And really, I don't even think about it. It's just great service. I think they're going to be more impressed with the service. Okay? So I wouldn't get hung up on that. If it becomes an issue, let us know. We'll address it for sure. So, yes.
Something that would be helpful, if we could have the sheets in Word format, so we can cut and paste questions into Salesforce and key them in. Because it's not gonna be really time.
Oh, you want to type them in right as you're taking it? I'm fine with that if they are. Yeah, I'm fine getting you guys the Word, so we'll get you the Word versions too in case they want to cut and paste it right in and type. I type right in while I'm talking. And again, we're going to work on getting it in Salesforce as well. Just want to have a pen. Mine's missing. Can I just see your pen and put that on my list?
Is there a value in getting it into Salesforce?
Is there value? Well, she's saying she's going to type it up, like have it up on the screen and type into it and cut and paste it right into Salesforce, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because where else? I mean, we're gonna go to a notebook to find this and then.
No, I agree. That's what I do. Yeah.
I think what you're asking, correct me if I'm wrong, you're just taking notes like you would normally, and so you don't have to put the questions in Salesforce. You're just gonna type the answers,
No, I want,
unless you want.
You type right into the computer, not on a notepad. Is that what you're saying?
sometimes I do, but for the benefit of whoever else is looking at the notes to know.
Yeah.
Precisely what to be an answer, it would be helpful.
Okay. But yeah, you would never need to type in the questions. Like I would even put keywords. You know, I do the summary I just summarize. Because I have different people handling our leads too, so I'll put in what happened, like a summary and you know, a short story enough that they can capture it, but I would never type up every question and put it in there. But we'll get it to you in Word. We just want you to use it. So anything we can help to get buy-in, I'm all for. Yes.
Tracy, go back to the web leads a minute. A lot of times when we're cluster communities, we get more than one preference for a web lead. And the first one is given to the first preference, but the second and third communities are posted 7 days out. So you're saying that's really too long.
So the first community gets it immediately, and the second and third 7 days later?
Yes. They have a task.
They've inquired, but they're not even going to get to respond for 7 days. I mean, that is going to be an issue because your competitors are responding, some of them within an hour. So it might be something we need to look at.
And I think they can pick an order of preference,
Okay.
what information they want to receive first.
Okay.
The idea is that they're not gonna get calls from 4
Sure.
a day. That's why they're staggered.
Yeah. And that's something I think we can work on offline just because that's going to just be strategy. Like, how do we want to handle those? So, thank you.
Technical question, as far as you saying texting is a good way to communicate. What is the school about with texting? We only have our personal cell phones to text from. Should we be doing that?
It's going to depend on what you're allowed to do because I don't want to answer HR type questions. So texting, I'm sorry, does anybody have an extra pen? I think I dropped mine back there somewhere. Say thank you, texting.
Because if you text them, they have your personal phone and they text
Yeah.
a lot of times after different times.
Personal.
Lauren or Maggie, do you want to answer that? Yeah. It's multiple. When they're texting.
Okay, so we'll get you answers on those type of questions. Thank you for answering. And I don't want to get distracted, so my answer for now is then don't use your phone. Just do phone and email. I don't want to complicate this. I don't want anybody to now have a barrier or reason not to execute. Like, oh, we're going to get into why we should not use this system versus why we should. Do you see what's happening? So these are great questions, but we really need to let us, for now, if it's a barrier, just go past it and just leave that out. Let's extract that till we have an answer. Don't worry about it. Don't even text, okay? Yes.
I just, would like you to, a personal, like my personal, conflict, not conflict, but whatever. I'm not saying it's very well, but, the only issue I have with this, it's gonna be hard for me to overcome, and I'm looking for suggestion, I guess, from you.
Okay.
And I'm sure, I know it works, you wouldn't be as successful as you are. But I have a problem with, like, just personal problem, starting these questions without having, earned the right, to ask the questions. And I feel like, I don't know if anybody else feels that.
So when she's saying she doesn't feel comfortable asking these questions without earning the right, so how would you typically start your call?
Well, I mean, they're calling for information, so getting a little over.
So I'm in a role play with you. I'm the prospect. So, well, I need to understand what's going on to help you. So, Kathy, hi, Kathy. I just am looking at some options for my husband and I. Can you just? I was wondering if I can get some pricing on maybe like a 2-bedroom villa of some sort.
Well, I'm not going to go get pricing right away.
What do you do?
I'm saying, so, well, now I can't think. But I'll just be like, oh, well, how did you hear about Heron Point?
You know what? I've heard about at church from time to time. I think maybe some people come to my church, live there.
Okay. And so you are familiar with CCRCs and, all that they entail?
What's a CCRC?
Okay, well, how about, do you mind if I tell you a little bit about Heron Point?
Sure.
What CCR is all about? And then, if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
Then I go ahead and give them all that, and then I feel better.
I want you to do it. I mean, this is how we learn, right? So what might you do at this
So
point?
I just talked to them about what a CCRC is and what Life Care
Can
is.
Is it okay? Do you mind if we go through this dialogue? Don't be, you're teaching, no, you're not the only one thinking this. So in a nutshell, so I'm like, so what's a CRC?
Well, Continuing Care Retirement Community, CCRC. We're a community that includes the full continuum of care. Folks come in independent, and then once they're here, if they need a higher level of care, they can easily transition into either assisted living or the nursing home, whichever's appropriate for them.
We don't need we don't need a nursing home, and we definitely don't need assisted living. We're perfectly independent.
Absolutely, and 86% of our residents here are just like you, independent, active folks, 62 and over. But as time goes by, you're going to be thankful to be in a community like this that has that care if something happens.
Okay. So do you have a brochure you can send me then?
Sure, I do, but I. Well, I don't know now. I don't know.
No, but like this, you're basically.
Yeah, I'd be happy to send you a brochure. Can I get your address, please?
Sure. The blah 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 blah. Yep. Blah blah blah.
I'd be happy to send you one of our newsletters. If I can get your email address, I'll send that to you.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about yourself, though. I'd asked earlier if it was okay to ask you a few questions. So.
Yeah. My husband and I have been married for 60 years, and we're just looking, to change. Yes, I have a voice transponder thing that makes me feel young. And we're just looking to downsize. Our grandchildren grew up, and they don't come to our house. We don't need all this room. We've heard it's fun over there, so we're just looking to make, some changes, and we're calling around.
Okay, great. And so then I would be okay asking you questions because I've kind of felt.
By then, I'm a little bit checked out because
See, because I have gone to perform things, and the people have, the salespeople have done something.
yeah.
And I get a little turned off, because I'm like, I just want something.
But what are they doing? Are they asking you open-ended questions? I can guarantee you they're not asking you. I mean, the human psyche and psychology, once we start talking about you know what I mean? So it's a whole different ballgame. But here's the difference. You want to talk about you and the community and your product. I know it sounds hardcore. No, but it is about you in my mind. You are the community. It's all I know. I don't know you. You're not my friend. I've never met you. I'm calling you on a phone call. You want to talk about you. And this is the perception. It's not you in your personal life, but you are representative of the company, just like your CEO was saying. So when I'm calling and you want to talk to me about what you want to talk about, I'm listening. They think they want to know that because they don't know anything about it. So you're telling me all about it, and I'm like, CCRC, nursing home, assisted living, I'm freaking out here. What are you talking about? I thought you guys went golfing every morning, had my car washed, my laundry done for me, and now you're talking about nursing? I'm only 82. I'm out of here, right? So I'm checking out. I'm checking out because you're freaking me out. I didn't even call to ask about a nursing home, and now you're talking about when I get old and need to go to a nursing home. You don't realize that. Do you guys see what I'm saying here? But she didn't. She wanted to talk about her first. And I know it's not you personally, so don't take this personal. What it perceives to be is that you are determining that you want to talk about your community and what it is before you ask them about themselves. That's what everybody in the world does. If I'm selling life insurance, I'm going to tell you all about whole life. Are you familiar with whole life? It's the best thing ever. My gosh. You can borrow against it if you ever need it. I mean, and you're sitting there going, whole life? What the heck is a whole life? Right? What's the whole life? I'm not even going to buy this. This is really confusing. But I'm all excited because I want to teach you about whole life and term life insurance. Before I go in and start asking you, what are you going to do if your husband dies unexpectedly in the next 5 years and you have a 2 and a 5-year-old? Do you see what I'm saying? So, but if I immediately start with, you have kids, you're married, and I start getting you emotional and talking to you about, your plans for your kids, and then start bringing in, well, what if those plans are interrupted, by a sudden unexpected death, not even by your husband, but you, the mom. Then what happens to all those plans? All of a sudden you're going, oh my gosh, you're getting emotional, you're starting to cry. I never thought about this. You know what I mean? So, this is a really good, seriously important dialogue because you're saying what others are thinking. Here's the truth. I've had people say to me on coaching calls, who am I to ask them these intimate questions when I don't even know them? Is that what you're thinking? But you're dealing with such an intimate life. You're asking them to sell their house, downsize, leave their memories. It's kind of a requirement of the job that you just got to be able to get in there. And the thing is, no one does. And that's why everybody blends together. The tort conversion ratios are usually so low. And the difference in the service is when you make it about them, not you. So I'm going to have to say, for someone like you, if anybody else is feeling the same way, you just got to trust the system. And I would say do it 15 times in a row. Actually, even do it 10 times in a row. And honestly, full throttle. Are you a sales manager or a life care consultant? So who's a sales manager?
She's by herself.
Daggone it. Carrie, you're going to witness, okay? I want you to observe, coach, watch, listen, because otherwise she'll think she's doing it, and she might not be doing it right, and she'll go, it didn't work. If you did this 10 times, you would, no, it's okay. But you would see the difference, and you'd never want to go back the other way because you're going to be so connected with these people. You're going to feel like it's your mission to change their life because you really know what's happening. It's awkward now because we're in a role play environment, but I appreciate you bringing up what you did, and why I wanted to role play is I wanted your peers who might be thinking the same thing. Did you see the difference when she was in control and like just talking about the community versus switching it and asking and getting the person to talk, or did you not see the difference? Okay. So if we have time tomorrow, we'll flip that so you can observe that difference. So no, thank you. We need these tough conversations. We really do. And the other thing you're addressing is it's just not natural. It's more natural just to want to talk about what we do, have a few light questions, yes or no's, because man, it's kind of awkward to get in people's business, right? Yeah. Well, usually they're not saying, hey, I have a few questions. They're usually saying, can I get some prices? Can I get a brochure? If they call and say, yeah, I just had a couple questions. I had a couple questions about, your community. Of course, answer them, but quickly get back in control. And if one's pricing, you're going to say, do you mind if I ask you a few quick questions and go right into your system? Okay? Remember, they don't know what they want. So, So as we look at the visit planning and why this is so important, and we only have, it's 4 o'clock. This is actually perfect because here's the thing. We got through time management today, and I don't want you to think we just got through the inquiry system. We didn't. I have been laying a much bigger foundation. Do you guys see that? You see it's not just about the inquiry call, right? So tomorrow is going to be really easy because tomorrow is going to be all about, the tour planning is like 10-minute training. It is so easy. It's just taking what you learned and making sure you apply it to the tour, you connect the dots, you wow them, roll out the red carpet, show them you listen. That's easy. Then the follow-up and closing, I'm going to introduce you to other tools and the closing, and it's going to be everything you learned today, just a different set of questions. And then we're going to really work on the close with lots of objections and kind of like hardcore, but it's going to be the same close you learned today. So today was all the foundational learning, whereas tomorrow's going to be now taking that and just applying it to the different stages of the sales process. So whether we're in follow-up calls, if we're on our third tour, if we're bringing in different decision makers, you're going to see that you're going to be able to grasp that really quickly tomorrow. And so I want to make sure you understand what's going to happen next. And then we'll just spend like a small bit of time on outreach. So if you're thinking about growing organic referrals and getting more qualified, you'll have a great foundation for that. So are there any other questions or anything that's on your mind that you, before we go, like I go, that you want me to address here today, or that's bothering you or just on your mind? Yes.
I just have a quick question about the web lead. So, is the best way to respond back to them in an email, and then the next step to be to?
If you don't have a phone number, if you have a phone number, you're going to call them. But if you have an email, I mean, what we found to be most effective, and we experiment a lot, is 3 open-ended questions back to them. Because most people don't ask any questions. They just send the information. And then you get that same concept. You know, you might send them one teaser, fact sheet, something like that you want to give that you like, an article, but hey, so I know what to send you, can ask you a few quick questions. It's just going to make you stand out from the crowd and at least get them engaged in some dialogue. If you don't hear back, then I would just send them, you know, the standard packet, you know, within, say, the next day, 48 hours. Yes?
When you look at conversion rates, are you going to take into consideration that many of them are not nearby, so they really can't make an appointment?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, with
Yeah, we already know your conversion rates.
that,
Yeah.
the conversion rate, if it's not at that time, then it looks like we're not converting.
Here's what we're going to do for you. We just want to grow your conversions. We're going to start where we are right now. If it's 11%, our goal is going to be to get to the 13%, right? So we know those are already all factored in right now, right? So basically they are, because it's whatever you're putting in the database, it's shooting out your conversion. So our goal is now just to grow it with all the same circumstances, all the same kind of leads. Nothing else is changing, but we're applying a new training system. So we just want to go from good to great and get that better and better, a little bit at a time. Yes?
This may be off target, but another challenge that I faced, other than the first call, first inquiry, are the people that we have in our pipeline, we've been talking to, maybe even on our priority list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not ready.
Yes.
Just not there yet.
I understand.
That's the other big challenge, so I don't know, is that something that's on your?
Oh yeah, that's what all tomorrow's about. And here's a good thing. Tomorrow I don't have to teach you the foundational elements of the system, like active listening, recapping, you already learned all that. So tomorrow it's going to be like, I'm going to give you great questions to ask to figure out why, you know, why they've been sitting on that priority list. Why aren't they moving? What was it that made them come, you know, and look this year? If you're really not moving for 5 years, what led you to walking in the door this year? You know, like we're going to get to some of the kind of tougher questions tomorrow. And then we have so many tools. We've limited how many we are bringing you because we don't want to overwhelm you. But based on what you're asking tomorrow, I mean, I can give Megan and Lori, we've got a whole list of like 15 awesome, like really tough close questions, for example, that you can just keep in your arsenal, laminate, have it in front of you, available to you. So when you're at your wit's end, you're like, okay, you know, what's going to be the deciding factor, and, you know, as relates to the community you'll ultimately choose. What is it that's stopping you from making the decision to move now versus later? You know, all those kind of questions. So, yeah, and we'll role play those tomorrow, because what I want you to see tomorrow is how the system really works at any stage of the sales cycle in any situation. And again, we're not going to get 100%, and that's not the goal. So the goal is just to get enough to hit our end of August goals. That's what we need. Okay, so thank you guys. We have to stop now, right? And I'll be here tomorrow, and we're doing really great on time, so we'll be able to knock out the rest tomorrow. And you know, write any questions you have. If you don't want to ask them, bring them. Email them to Megan. She can share them in the morning, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much. Thank you.